tired because it'll be lots of point of connection between her talk and my talk, and from a completely different perspective. So I'm very excited to share really some exciting findings from our lab. That's a study that aims to shed light on one of the most pressing questions I think we face in PCVE. So why do people turn to political violence? And the research I'm about to share with you was conducted in 40 different countries in what we're calling a global tournament of radicalization predictors. And by analyzing risk factors for radicalization across a really broad area, I would say broad array of socio-political contexts, what we sought to do was to uncover universal drivers of violent extremism. So through my presentation, what I'll do is basically walk you through our approach, the methodology, the key psychological factors here at play in our findings, which I believe really bring new insights for researchers and practitioners working to disrupt pathways to violence. So for decades, the world of PCVE has focused on understanding what makes terrorists tick, what motivates people to hurt, maim, and kill innocents in the name of
Hang on 1 second, sorry, we've just lost your slides. I don't know whether that's something our end or... Sorry, go for it, carry on.
Yeah, it's back? Okay, great.
Oh, now we can hear you again as well. Sorry, carry on.
Okay, so one of the problems in the field of PCVE is that there's little research. According to two different meta-analyses that were conducted 10 years apart from one another, less than 3% of published articles include data. So that's a major league problem that we're facing. So if we are to reach the goal of addressing the problem of ideological violence, I think we need a roadmap. And this roadmap, as far as we can see it, has three main pillars, three goals, which we try to address in our research. So first, we need to identify key risk factors for violent extremism. What we're talking about here are the psychological and social triggers that can put someone on the path to radicalization. Second, we need to analyze these risk factors across different countries. Yes, each region has unique social, economic, and political landscape. But here's the thing, psychologists have shown that at a fundamental human level, human beings often are more similar than different. So we're driven by similar needs and motivations by and large. And therefore, there might be universal drivers undergirding violent extremism, regardless of where people come from. And finally, third, I think we need to compare these risk factors between the general population and also individuals that have been identified as terrorists. And in my estimation, this is crucial because there are perhaps more overlap between terrorist offenders and the general population than we might expect. And many individuals who end up being in extremist groups, they face the same kind of challenges as others. They need belonging, purpose, and meaning. So the difference lies in how they choose to address and resolve these needs. And so these are the steps, in my estimation, that really should guide us to build a clearer picture of radicalization. So this is what the promised land looks like if we're able to truly understand the risk factors of violent extremism. Our wished impact is twofold: to detect the risk factors that are linked to extremism so we can intervene early, preemptively, in pre-criminal space before individuals move further along the path to radicalization. And second, well, with this research, we can develop informed, data-driven PCVE strategies to ensure programs are effective, efficient, and they actually meet the real needs of the population they aim to protect. So that's fundamentally the backdrop of our research and our goals. Can you guys still hear me, or?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Just checking.
Otherwise, I'll be talking to myself, right? Okay. So, let me move to the next slide. So, what do we know about the psychological vulnerabilities, right? And which one is the most important? Well, according to my colleague, Dr. Wolfowitz at Jerusalem University, well, there's a lot of them. And he did a meta-analysis where he ordered more than 100 risk factors for violent extremism. So what did he find? Here I'm showing you the top risk factors in that red box. Okay? And in that red box, we find the usual suspects, such as relative deprivation, perceived discrimination, commitment to the ideology, But the most important were, and this is actually connecting to the work of Dr. Al-Altar, which we just heard a few minutes ago, obsessive passion and also identity fusion. So in case you're unfamiliar with these terms, so obsessive passion is an extreme fixation on ideological beliefs that actually consumes one's life. And identity fusion is a visceral feeling of oneness with a group. So this work is truly remarkable, don't get me wrong, but there's several limitations here that we have to take into consideration. Because this is a meta-analysis, so these factors were studied in isolation. So they were not studied all together in the same survey, which means that we cannot clearly tell how much each factor matters when combined with others. Also, these risk factors were often studied in a single country, right, with a single ideology, and without terrorists in the samples. So we don't know the degree to which these factors generalize across contexts. So in the work that I'm about to show you, we address these limitations by examining these risk factors that you see in the red box simultaneously in the same survey, okay, in a tournament of predictors in 40 different countries. So with multiple ideologies, left wing, right wing, religious ideologies, and also we included a terrorist sample. That's why I'm so excited to share with you these results. This is not a slide for you to read, but perhaps this is a definition of each of the risk factors that we put in the survey. So I can come back to that slide later if there's any questions about the operationalization of these definitions of these risk factors. More than 10,000 people took that survey in 40 different countries. The countries are in white on the screen. This is a mixture of left wing and right wing type of countries, okay, people with different ideologies. In green, we have Muslim majority countries, so the ideology here is Islam. And in yellow, you have ideological involvement with Hinduism. Okay, so we have different religious backgrounds here in that study. What we found here was very, very clear. So what did we find? So the best predictor of wanting to engage in political violence is radical attitude, having a positive attitude toward violence. Okay, that predicts the degree to which people want to engage in violence. Well, that's a no-brainer, right? Because that should be a surprise to you that liking and wanting are related. But psychologically, what we found is that obsessive passion, that extreme fixation on ideological beliefs, that was the main predictor in the general population across all these 40 different countries. And what did we find also in the sample of terrorists? And here, shout out to my friend, Dr. André Gomez, for collecting the jihadist data in the prisons of Spain. We also found that the top predictor was obsessive passion. So, in summary, our top performing predictor is obsessive passion. This type of overwhelming drive for an ideology, that seems to be the most robust factor across regions, across ideology, and the greatest risk factor for extremism. And again, this pattern held in the general population and also with extremists like terrorist offenders in prison. So that's very, very exciting to see that consistency, that robustness. So what do we know about the behavioral manifestations of obsessive passion? And again, you'll see it connects to the work of Dr. Al-Altar, which we heard about. So obsession is an addiction to an ideology. It overtakes other life domains. When people are obsessed, nothing else matters. Everything rides on their ideological beliefs. Their identity is consumed. So when individuals, they define themselves basically through their ideological beliefs. And then they start dehumanizing outgroup members, people that don't believe like them. And therefore, if you dehumanize outgroup members, it is okay to hurt them, to want to engage in violence against them, right? Without the experience of self-recrimination. Also, we know from research that obsessed people tend to network with other folks. So birds of the same feather flock together, right? And that creates echo chamber that reinforce their beliefs, their extreme views. And also in our research, we found that obsessive passion was related to a lack of intellectual humility. There are several facets, dimensions, if you wish, of intellectual humility, but the lack of respect for other people's viewpoint, that's one of the facets of intellectual humility. That's the most important. So what are the evidence-based strategies to curb ideological obsession? Okay? So here's a few examples of using diverse personal goals, trying to integrate new goals in the repertoire, in the tapestry of goals of the individual. Family, career, social ambitions are often pushed aside when people are obsessed about an ideology. We need to reintegrate them in the person's repertoire. Promoting respect for diverse viewpoints, as I was mentioning, the lack of intellectual humility, particularly the lack of respect for other people's viewpoint. We've shown experimentally that there was two different types of interventions. So the more people are able to respect other people's viewpoint, the lesser, right, their support for violent extremism. We know this. We know these interventions function. And last but not the least, we can boost personal confidence through self-affirmation so that individuals derive self-worth not only from ideological beliefs, but from multiple areas of life. Okay? So in closing, through this research, what we've identified is obsessive passion as the primary risk factor that weaves across left-wing, right-wing, and also religious extremism across 40 countries. And this risk factor was important both in the general population, but also with terrorist offenders in prison. So I think this is truly groundbreaking. It's really exciting because now we can focus our energy, our PCVE efforts on the most important risk factor to counter violent extremism. So this is basically a call to action to all, right? So for researchers and practitioners to deepen our knowledge and refine our strategies on that risk factor, obsessive passion. So that's all for me, folks. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that was clear, even though we had some technical hiccups. So thank you very much.